Hey everyone, just here with Charlene Li, a leading expert in disruption, digital transformation, best-selling author, and many more things that fill her bio. I wanted to ask her to firstly introduce herself, but then secondly, what are three resources or ways that younger professionals can turn to toward this time of disruption? And we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. Again, to introduce myself, my name is Charlene Li. I'm a senior analyst at Altimeter, a company I started and which was acquired by Profit in 2015. So I went through the whole entire cycle. And I'm also an author. I've written 6 books, and my latest one is called The Disruption Mindset: Why Some Organizations Thrive While Others Fail. So I've been studying disruption as an analyst for over 20 years and finally got around to writing a book about it.
Amazing.
That's what I am about. So I think you had to ask a good question. Like, what are some things that you can do to really push yourself forward in these really turbulent times? I think there are 3 things. The first one is be really focused on what your purpose is. I know it sounds really old. It's like, okay, do I have to go back there? But I can't begin to tell you how important that is. And I'll just give you an example. My purpose, my stated purpose has been for a long time now to help leaders thrive with disruption. And that guides what I do and what I don't do. And when the coronavirus hit, I could see what was happening by the end of February. And by the beginning of March, I was just completely in a depressed mood. I was just like withdrawing from everybody, even though a lockdown hadn't happened yet. I could see what was going to happen. I could see the train wreck we were headed towards and how many people's livelihoods and lives would be impacted by this. So I just went into a state of grieving for the first 2 weeks, just really shut down. And the thing that pulled me out in the end was my purpose statement. I finally my world I just felt better when we went to lockdown in California, because I'm like, okay, finally, we can start turning the corner, right? And so that's when I started coming out and saying, okay, so like, how am I going to work my way through this? And I kept coming back to my purpose to help leaders thrive. Just how do I do this? And I realized I needed to really step up, especially at this time when people were going through so many changes. So I think a purpose statement is super helpful, because so often we go through the day thinking about what is it we do. If we're looking for a job, we tell people like, this is what I do. You got a job for me because this is what I do. Someone trying to hire you or trying to advance with you, being your manager, or if you're starting a company, everyone's always asking, not what do you do, but how can you help me? And so for you, change your mindset when somebody introduces you, or when you're meeting somebody new, instead of asking them, so what do you do? Ask them a different question. Ask them, how do you serve the world? And your entire perspective changes. Somebody asked me that at a cocktail party back in January, and it literally stopped me in my tracks. I go, what a great way to think about this. How do I serve the world? So when you have a really clear idea of how you enter into the world every single day, when you step out of your bed, this is how I'm going to serve the world, the whole world looks completely different. And that's how you get through these turbulent times. This was, no matter what's happening around you, your purpose stays the same. And even when the times get really tough, you go back to your purpose to guide you, to say, these are the things I should be doing, the things I shouldn't be doing. So I think the first one is how do you find your purpose?
Awesome.
And so my one tip on how to do this is not sitting down on a blank piece of paper. Go back through your calendar, go look forward in your calendar and look at the things that get you really excited. The things that you just look forward to, you look back with, you can scroll through your photos. That's a great way. But look at those and see, where are the opportunities where you were serving? Where were you in the midst of that sense of flow? Because you want to achieve that. Your purpose is going to be driven by what drives you. And in particular, places where you feel like you're making an impact. So instead of applying to 100 different places for an internship or for a job, think about applying to 20 with people who are really truly aligned with what your purpose is. But you won't be able to pick those 20 unless you do that. And even if you don't have great experience, When somebody sees that you are so aligned with what they're trying to do, that you speak to their heart, not just on your resume, they're going to hire you. As a hiring manager, I've hired so many people without degrees, without experience, because they totally understood what I was trying to build. I'd much rather take that person than somebody with 5 or 10 years of experience. They may know all the details of how to do it, but their heart isn't there.
Mm.
I can train somebody on how to do the work. I can't train somebody to think and feel and be passionate about something that I am.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first thing. I'll get off my soapbox there.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Any questions before I go on to the second one? I'll just do real quick other things.
Should that purpose statement, kind of on point number one, be able to be summed up in 1 or 2 sentences, or
Yes.
what's that
Yes.
limit? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Don't try to put all the details in there, because you kind of want people to say, well, tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple here. Walt Disney's was to make people happy.
Hmm.
Right? Oprah Winfrey, to be a teacher and to be known for inspiring students to be more than they thought they could be.
Mm.
The fact that we know now that Oprah's purpose is to be a teacher, not to be a game show, a talk show host or personality or influencer, is to be a teacher. So that kind of helps you say, like, what are you about? What gets you up out of the morning? And for you to be able to say that every single day, quick repeat when you're in meeting people, or to remind people, this is what I'm about. That's the important thing here. It's meaningful to you.
Love it. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. I think the second thing right now, especially, and this shouldn't be hard for most people, but it incredibly is to question everything. I mean, question everything. The rules are not there to necessarily confine you. And I don't want to say that rules are meant to be broken, because that's not necessarily true. But I think so many things are changing that we should be absolutely questioning and saying the things that worked in the past may or may not work today. But let's keep an open mind, but we won't know whether they work or don't unless we ask. A simple example, we used to think that meeting in person was the default. Now meeting in person is dangerous. Meeting virtually is the default. That changes everything, from the way we conduct business, to how much we travel, to how we do our sports entertainment, to how we learn, to how we see doctors. It changes everything. So if it's changing our lives, it's going to change the business opportunities. So look for the opportunities by questioning how the world works, and could it work in a better way? So she's constantly asking for that. And I think the third area is to really develop what I call courage. And it sounds so cliche, but courage is when you go forward and do something, even when you have no idea whether you're going to be successful or not. Because if you knew what the outcome was, it doesn't require any courage. You just do it, right? But I think especially now, and especially at the beginning of your career, to take these risks, take these chances, and be okay with it. Because what's the worst thing that could happen? It doesn't work out, right? And so I'll give an example. When I was applying to business school, I was looking at the various schools, and really good school is Harvard Business School, but I really didn't want to go there because it's in freezing cold Boston. I'd lived there for many years. I didn't want to go back. I wanted to go to California. I just always wanted to be in California. It's like, Stanford's nice. It's on a farm. It's sunny. It's warm. People are really cool. They're very chill. Harvard's kind of intense. I'm like, do I really want to go there? And then I went and visited a classroom, and there were 90 students. Hands are raised. People are fighting to get it. And I realized right there and then, I need to do that, because I am not comfortable raising my hand in a group of 100 people and stating my point when I'm not 100% sure. That requires a lot of courage. It requires a lot of confidence, and also humility to know that I may not know all the answers, so I'm going to call on my classmates. 2 years of doing that made me get out of my comfort zone. And so what I mean by having courage, it means being at the end of your comfort zone all the time. We have our comfort zone, this place where we feel really comfortable and we don't have to worry about anything. That's a great place to be. But if you want to grow, you have to be at that edge, because that's where life begins and that's where the magic happens. And that takes a lot of courage. So my advice, my third piece of advice, besides having a purpose and question everything, is to step out of your comfort zone as much as you can. Make it a daily habit. Find ways to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Sure thing.
One last question.
Sure.
If you were to advise students or younger professionals to pick up one of your 6 books to read over quarantine or lockdown, what would that be? And why?
I think it's the latest one.
Yeah.
It just has distilled so much. And even though it's written mostly for leaders and organizations, I encourage every single person to read it from the perspective of a leader, because every single one of you are a leader. You are a leader. And never doubt that for a minute. Leaders create change. It's not a title. It is not something that somebody bestows on you. It's something that you decide to do because you see a change that needs to happen. So we need so many leaders. We need leaders who think big, play big, are going to create audacious change. So why can't it be you? So I would say find that disruption. You find disruption by creating change that really serves the world.
And where can people connect with you or stay in touch after this chat?
You can come to my website, charleneli.com, and also on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places with my name, Charlene Li.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and all the best finishing up the rest of the week.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.